Ferrari arrives in China under maximum pressure. After the disaster in Melbourne, the Maranello team is betting everything on the simulator to reverse its fortunes in Shanghai. Will it be enough to take on Red Bull and McLaren? Today we'll analyze the challenges Ferrari faces on this technical circuit, the modifications to the SF25, and why the simulator is key to its performance in this sprint Grand Prix. And now tell me in the comments, do you think Ferrari will be able to solve its problems in China? The Shanghai International Circuit is one of the most technical and demanding tracks on the Formula One calendar. With a length of 5.451 kilometers and 16 corners, this layout combines high-speed sections, tight corners, and one of the longest straights in the championship. For Ferrari, this circuit represents a complex challenge due to the characteristics of the SF25 and the problems the team has faced in the first races of the season. The first sector of Shanghai is a test of precision and control. The iconic Turn 1, with its spiraling snail-like shape, demands a smooth transition between braking and acceleration as drivers battle loss of front-end traction. For Ferrari, this section is particularly challenging due to the SF25's difficulty in reaching optimal front tire temperature. If the temperature is too low, the car will suffer from a lack of rotation at corner entry, affecting the line and compromising lap time. In contrast, if the tires heat up too quickly, performance will decline in the final part of the lap, generating premature degradation that could affect the car's stability in high-speed corners. The second sector is the most technical of the circuit and where aerodynamic efficiency plays a crucial role. Medium and low-speed corners demand a combination of downforce and traction to ensure stability on corner exit. Here, Ferrari could be at a disadvantage compared to Red Bull and McLaren, as these teams have demonstrated a superior ability to optimize car height without sacrificing aerodynamic performance. In Melbourne, Ferrari struggled to maintain an appropriate height configuration for reasons that are still unclear, which affected its performance. In Shanghai, the team will seek to correct these issues to maximize performance in this key sector. The third sector is where top speed and aerodynamic efficiency become crucial. The straight, over a kilometer long, offers one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit, making DRS management a key strategic factor. For Ferrari, finding the right balance between downforce and top speed will be a complex challenge. A high level of downforce would improve cornering performance but could compromise straight-line speed, leaving drivers vulnerable to attacks from rivals. On the other hand, reducing downforce would increase top speed but hinder stability in the more technical sections of the circuit. The SF25 arrives in Shanghai with specific settings designed to address these particularities of the track. Rear wing setup, suspension optimization, and tire management strategy will be key factors for Ferrari to compete at the highest level. Furthermore, the track surface has been completely renovated, adding an additional level of uncertainty to the team's preparations. Without recent data on the asphalt's behavior with the current generation of cars, Ferrari will have to rely heavily on simulator work to make strategic decisions ahead of the first practice session. Shanghai is a circuit that rewards precision and adaptability, two aspects Ferrari will need to master if it wants to close the gap on Red Bull and McLaren. The combination of demanding corners, elevation changes, and the long finishing straight will test every aspect of the SF25. With a sprint format weekend and limited practice time, Ferrari's ability to extract maximum performance from the car from the outset will be crucial to its success at the Chinese Grand Prix. The Chinese Grand Prix comes at a critical time for Ferrari. After a disappointing performance in Melbourne, the Maranello team has been working against the clock to introduce urgent modifications to the SF25 to correct the issues identified at the last race. The pressure is on, especially on a sprint weekend, where the lack of track time will make any setup errors even more costly. The team's main concerns center on tire management, race strategy, and aerodynamic efficiency. In Australia, Ferrari suffered from unexpected compound degradation, which compromised its pace on long runs and left it out of the fight for the lead. One of the biggest challenges has been understanding why the SF25 has shown inconsistent tire performance depending on track conditions. In Shanghai, the key will be getting the front tires to their ideal temperature without compromising stability on the rest of the circuit. One of the most significant changes has been to the rear wing. Ferrari has implemented adjustments to improve aerodynamic efficiency in key sections of the Chinese track. In Melbourne, the SF25 experienced issues with downforce distribution, which affected both straight-line speed and performance in medium-speed corners. To address this, the team has optimized the rear wing design to find a balance that allows them to be more competitive in the third sector of the Shanghai circuit, where the long finishing straight is a determining factor in overtaking strategy. Suspension setup has also been a key focus. In the early races of the season, Ferrari has struggled to maintain an optimal balance between stability and traction, leading to inconsistent performance. In Shanghai, with its demanding medium and low-speed corners, the team made suspension adjustments to improve the car's response on corner exit and maximize traction in key sectors. Another key change has been in strategic communication between the drivers and the pit wall. In Melbourne, a lack of clarity in decision-making affected Ferrari's ability to react to race changes. With the sprint format in China, where decisions must be made in fractions of a second, the team has implemented a more aggressive approach to ensure past strategic mistakes are not repeated. One of the most critical aspects of preparation for Shanghai has been the simulator work. With just 1 hour of free practice before sprint qualifying, Ferrari has ramped up its sessions at Maranello to gather as much data as possible before hitting the track. The lack of recent references at this circuit with the current generation of cars makes the simulator a vital tool for anticipating real-world track conditions and fine-tuning the car's setup. Loic Serra's return to Maranello to lead the analysis of the SF25 shortcomings is a sign of the urgency with which Ferrari is addressing this situation. The team is confident that the modifications implemented will unlock the car's potential, but the pressure is enormous. With Red Bull and McLaren showing a very high level of competitiveness, Ferrari cannot afford another weekend where it falls behind in the fight for the top positions. The changes made to the SF25 reflect the team's determination to correct the problems of the early races and make up ground in the championship fight. However, the real test will be on the track, where every technical decision and every adjustment to the car's setup will play a crucial role in the team's performance at the Chinese Grand Prix. The Chinese Grand Prix represents one of Ferrari's most important opportunities at the start of the season. After an inconsistent start, the Italian team is at a crossroads. Either prove that the modifications implemented on the SF25 have solved the performance issues or risk falling further behind in the championship fight. Shanghai is a circuit that has historically offered unpredictable races, and the sprint format only adds more uncertainty to a weekend that will be key to defining the team's true potential in 2025. The Shanghai International Circuit layout features a mixed profile that combines low and medium speed corners with one of the longest straights on the calendar. For Ferrari, the biggest challenge will be balancing performance in these different sections of the track without compromising top speed or stability in the most demanding corners. In theory, the SF25 should find certain advantages on this circuit compared to what it saw in Melbourne, but the reality on track will depend on the correct execution of the strategy and the car's adaptation to the weekend's conditions. One aspect that could work in Ferrari's favor is the track configuration. Shanghai is a circuit with cooler temperatures and renewed asphalt, meaning tire thermal management will be a critical factor. In the early races of the season, Ferrari has struggled with front tire activation, but on a track with a less aggressive surface and lower temperatures, the team may have an opportunity to reduce this disadvantage. If Ferrari can find the optimal operating window for its compounds, it could minimize the impact of degradation and improve its race pace, one of the weaknesses evident in Australia. The other key element will be the correlation between simulator data and actual on-track performance. Due to the lack of recent experience in Shanghai with the current generation of cars, teams have had to base much of their preparation on simulations. Ferrari has placed particular emphasis on this aspect, seeking to bridge the gap between what is worked on in Maranello and what is actually experienced on track. If the simulations have been accurate and the modifications to the SF25 have solved the Melbourne issues, Ferrari could find a solid base to work from as early as the first session of the weekend, which would be a major advantage in a sprint event where every minute of track time counts. Qualifying performance will also be a determining factor for Ferrari. On a track where overtaking can be tricky despite the long straight, securing a good grid position could be the difference between fighting for the podium or being stuck in traffic. In this regard, the evolution of the SF25 in short runs will be key. If Ferrari manages to extract maximum performance from the car on a flying lap, it could put itself in a favorable strategic position for the main race. However, if the degradation problems persist and the long-run pace does not improve, the team could once again face difficulties in race management, especially against Red Bull and McLaren, which have demonstrated superior consistency in the early rounds of the championship. The team's statements reflect a mix of confidence and caution. Frédéric Vasseur emphasized that Shanghai is an opportunity to turn the page after the difficult weekend in Melbourne, but also acknowledged that the sprint format adds an extra level of complexity. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc have indicated they enjoy the Shanghai layout, but the Briton has been clear that he still needs time to fully adapt to the SF25. The team's ability to provide him with a stable car setup from the first practice session will be critical to maximizing his performance over the weekend. Expert analysis indicates that Ferrari could have slightly reduced the gap to Red Bull and McLaren at a circuit like Shanghai, but this will depend on on-track performance. Bernie Collins, a former Formula One strategy engineer, has mentioned that the Chinese layout could favor the SF25's characteristics if Ferrari has managed to address its stability and tire management issues. However, the team still faces the harsh reality of competing against two teams that have demonstrated more consistent performance so far this year. The Chinese Grand Prix is more than just a race for Ferrari. It's a definitive test to assess whether the SF25 has the real potential to fight for victories this season or if the team will need to rethink its development approach in the upcoming races. Shanghai offers a stage where strategy, adaptation, and pre-season preparation will play a key role. If Ferrari has made the right adjustments and can translate its work in the simulator into on-track results, it could take a step forward in the championship fight. But if the problems persist, the pressure on the Maranello team will only increase in the upcoming races. The Chinese Grand Prix represents a turning point in the 2025 season for Ferrari. With a bumpy start to the year and evident performance issues in Melbourne, the Maranello team finds itself in a situation where every decision and every technical adjustment can determine the course of the championship. Shanghai is not only a technically demanding circuit, but also adds the additional pressure of a sprint format weekend, drastically reducing the margin for error and forcing teams to maximize their performance from the first practice session. The modifications implemented on the SF25 and the intensive work in the simulator reflect Ferrari's commitment to turning things around and demonstrating that the car has the potential to compete at the highest level. The big question is whether these adjustments will be enough to close the gap with Red Bull and McLaren, teams that have shown stronger and more consistent performances in the opening races. Tire thermal management, aerodynamic efficiency, and track strategy will be the determining factors that determine whether Ferrari can recover in Shanghai or whether the problems persist, further compromising its championship aspirations. The statements from Frederic Vasseur, Lewis Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc demonstrate a team confident in the work done, but also recognizing the challenges it faces. The SF25's ability to adapt to the conditions in Shanghai, coupled with the flawless execution of the strategy on a weekend with limited track time, will be key to Ferrari's performance. In this context, the team's performance in sprint qualifying and the main race will be crucial tests of whether significant progress has truly been made in the car's development. The fight for the championship remains open, and although Ferrari hasn't had the start to the season it had hoped for, Formula One has shown time and again that dynamics can change in a matter of races. Shanghai represents an opportunity for the team to send a clear message to its rivals and regain confidence in its project. The question remains whether Ferrari has done enough to be competitive at this circuit or whether Red Bull and McLaren will continue to set the pace on the grid. The 2025 season still has many battles ahead, and Ferrari's performance in China could be the first major indication of whether the SF25 has what it takes to fight for victories or if the team will need to rethink its development approach for the following races. The next round on the calendar will be crucial, and what happens in Shanghai could define Ferrari's path in this championship. Now is the time to open the debate. Do you think Ferrari has made the right adjustments to compete in Shanghai, or will they continue to struggle with the same issues they faced in the opening races? Will this be the weekend where Hamilton and Leclerc manage to squeeze the SF25 to the max, or will we see another demonstration of superiority from Red Bull and McLaren? Share your opinion in the comments, and let's continue analyzing every detail of this exciting season together. If you want to stay up to date with everything happening in Formula One, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any analysis. In the next video, we'll analyze how race strategies are evolving in the modern era of F1 and which teams are making the most of them.